a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA. My gosh. They're all going against the wind.
It was basically a cube with inside of a sphere where the points of the cube were touching outside of the sphere.
Roger. There's troubleshooting as soon as I
So this isn't anything that just is limited to the United States. It's a worldwide phenomenon.
Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. I'm smiling because me and Dan have just been sat for pretty much an hour trying to sort out all these technical issues. So what I will say straight away is as we go through the photos, we will be skipping and taking screens out and sharing stuff to play videos as well. Don't ask. Listen, thank you so much for being here. I'm really excited about this one. When me and Dan got back from Colombia, we said, you know, we need to sit down and do a behind the scenes live video. So we got here. This is the one. I'm going to give a quick shout out to my new members. We've got Wilfred, Dutch UAP. Here we go. Dutch UAP disclosure. Wilfred, thank you for becoming a member. And we also have Lydia Roma. Now, Lydia was actually part of the team in Colombia. So it's so good to have her here as well. And I think, if I'm right, Walter is in the chat. Walter, if that's you, Walter Payne was also part of the team. So yeah, let's get into it, shall we? I'm going to bring in my guest and fellow traveler, travel buddy, Mr. Dan Zetterstrom. How's it going, dude?
Hey. Great. Thank you so much. I've been excited to do this, and yeah, we've been gathering all the images together and trying to figure out which web browsers will give us audio and how we can do that. And yeah, it's been a traumatic hour, but we got there. Hello, Walter. Hello, Lydia. It's cool. It's nice to finally be here and be able to show some people some behind the scenes stuff. It's exciting.
Absolutely, man. I'm really excited. Do you know what, though? I can already tell that going through everything is just going to make me want to be right back there and experience it all over again because it was that incredible. So
yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
Absolutely.
So I played the trailer just there. We'll also play the rough cuts video maybe at the end. And we're like only a week and a half away from the episode 1 premiere, which I can't lie, I am really nervous about how I'm going to come across. But
it's like your debut. Well, I guess for both of us, and we're used to putting other people up on the camera, you know, to interview them and stuff like that. And it was amazing to be a part of, but yeah, it never quite got comfortable in front of that lens.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Anyway, shall we get straight into it? I don't think there's anything else. Yeah,
no, I don't think there is. Let's go for it.
Okay, so listen, I'll just caveat this by saying this is a mixture of my images and videos, a mixture of Dan. Actually, no, it's just my images, isn't it?
There's a bit of both. A
bit of both. Images, videos.
Whatever you didn't send me, you took your dancing out, so you know.
Yeah, I took out any videos and stuff that I thought the world is not ready to see drunk Vinny singing and dancing. So, you know, maybe another time. So yeah, we're going to go through it, you know, and these are just travel and behind the scenes of all sorts of things. There's good stuff, there's not so good stuff, you know, there's pictures of food in Colombia. So let's just get straight to it, shall we? So yeah, there I am. This was me on my way to Birmingham. So on the day before we flew out to Colombia, I did a meetup in Birmingham. So there's lots of these traveling pictures and stuff. So there's me.
Yeah. Vinny wore a mask. I did not.
You
I think I actually just snuck a moment while the bus was empty, because it was just fairly, yeah, it was middle of the day. It was a random day of the week. It wasn't a peak time. So yeah, I was risking it. But I would have worn a mask just after this. I'm pretty conscientious with that, to Andy's dismay. I remember getting a lot of jokes in London, but yeah. So we met up. Actually, do you want to introduce, because you spent a little bit more time here than I did?
Yeah, so I arrived in Birmingham quite a few hours before Dan. We met a local pub in Birmingham, and a few followers. You know, I put stuff out on social media. A few followers came along, and we just hung out, drank quite a lot. And then this was after Dan got here, which was quite late in the evening. And this is Ash here. So we went out, the three of us went out for a meal. So this was just before Ash left, and me and Dan headed off to our hotel, which was next to Birmingham Airport, for a few hours sleep, barely any sleep.
Barely, yeah, really barely.
Like we were up at like 2 a.m. or something stupid like that to go to the airport.
Yeah,
So
and because of COVID rules, a lot of things that would normally be open, like cafes and stuff to get coffee, were closed, and we couldn't actually check in for a number of hours. So we were too early, but it's better to be overly prepared.
Yeah.
But yeah, not much sleep on the way out that night.
Yeah.
But it did set a precedent for taxi costs as we kind of went across the world to Colombia. You know, just to the airport. How much was it? It was quite expensive, and it wasn't that far.
It was about 30 quid nearly.
Yeah. Do you know what taxi companies are like? The second you say that you're going to the airport, it's a standard rate and it's expensive and so on and so forth. So yeah, it was good to compare each side of the flights, what the taxis cost, because they were a lot cheaper the other side of the flight. Yeah, I think we have our first video, Vinny.
This is 3 a.m. or something stupid, but yeah, go for it.
I need you to bring the video screen in.
Good morning, Vinny.
Good morning.
Yeah, that was a very short one. Yeah, that was it. Really short one.
So back to these ones. These are the technical issues we were having, guys. So we're flicking between different links. So bear with us.
Yeah, exactly. So this was us on the plane.
This was the first flight, wasn't it?
Yeah. How many legs did we do? Should I just kind of go through these, because I think there are a few of these pictures and videos.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Please do. Yeah.
Sound for these actually.
This was from Birmingham to Frankfurt, Germany.
Frankfurt, that's right. See, there's quite a few, and they're pretty samey. It's a plain wing, no UAPs.
Yeah, how much were we looking out the windows trying to hope that we'd capture something? An awful lot.
A lot. I will press play. You won't hear the sound for this, but it's just nice and peaceful. Not that you can see much movement, I guess, but still. Yeah, it's quite cool to kind of fly throughout all stages of the day. So we were in the air, kind of, you know, seeing the stars and stuff like that.
Look at this comment.
I promise we have more interesting things than just the flights. But
yeah, we'll get you know, once we get to Colombia and stuff, you know, it's all good. We're just trying to give a bit of context and stuff.
These are the character building moments, you know. You'll care more when we get to them. For example, look, this is where Vinny slept a lot.
Do you know what? I never sleep anywhere, but literally after 2 or 3 hours sleep, and we're already the stress of getting through the first bit of the airport, arriving in Frankfurt I was beat. I need to recharge. This was only a 30-minute nap, maybe.
And it took us a second to even find a place for you to just faceplant down, you know. And I was sat, yeah, there you go, you can see. I was sat editing the interview with Tim McMillan, not the most recent one about the Gary Reed stuff, but well, I guess the one that came out when I was in Colombia. So that was fun to just be able to do that on the go with the laptop while the prince slept nearby.
See, Walter says here, Vinny, any vino stops while traveling. Do you know what? I don't think I did I? No. Yeah, no vino. I saved all that for Colombia, Walter, as you know. Plenty in Colombia though, and now. Cheers.
So this was quite a cool game. Again, we don't really need sound for these ones.
Yeah, play it.
You can see the screen going there. You had to just wait a second, and you could join the game with your mobile phone, and the aim was to just get as many paper planes as you could. But it was really fun. And at one point, I think it was on the way back when I was playing, I got some evil eyes from some strangers because I took a bunch of their planes. I was just like, calm down.
Killed a bit of time, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. It was fun. So yeah. This was the second leg of the flight. There's a lovely rainbow over the airport. Look, I promise that's not CG. So the planes were actually fairly empty, and the food was pretty good. A lot of it was vegan. But yeah, the planes were empty, so it allowed us to kind of spread our stuff out and pour our feet up. I was reading Three Body Problem as we were on our way, which is a cool book. There's a few of these.
It's all good.
How did you find the flight, Vinny?
Do you know what? It was amazing. I enjoyed it. It helped having, and this will sound cheesy and that, but it helped having someone with me, like a travel buddy, especially someone that we could talk UAP for like 12 hours or whatever. You know, the flights were ridiculously long. So, you know, sleep, watch the odd movie, talk UAP, boom, happy days. Who doesn't want that in this community, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I'm just going to queue our next video up.
Cool.
Here we go. It's the one that's on screen now, but we arrived.
We're here.
Oh, you can see the reflection of the phone. There you go. So we made it. That was a lot of traveling, but Ashley found us pretty smoothly at the airport. I remember we didn't have to just run around trying to figure things out. But the strange thing was that only certain, correct me if I'm wrong, but only certain letters of car registrations could be on the road at specific times. So we had to, get off the road for a little bit. I guess that's how they manage congestion, but I don't think it would go down amazingly well in the UK.
Yeah, so I think I had it as certain times of the day and night, certain registrations can't leave Bogota or something like that. They have to stay within the city limits and for 45 minutes or an hour. So this photograph you see now is actually, we had to stop off at Ash's wife's mum's flat in Bogota for like 45 minutes. And of course, they greeted us with a bottle of wine. So, you know, what more do you want, really?
Yeah, absolutely. Can't go wrong. Oh, I forgot to play there is a video. I won't play it, but basically on the landing, the landing was very bumpy because you could, the cloud layer that we're used to seeing kind of above us here was the floor there. So I guess the pilot misjudged a little bit and the plane bounced back up in the air and then re-landed. That was an interesting experience. Oh, where are we going? Here we go. Sorry.
Don't click the wrong album.
There's nothing like that here, sir. There we go. Okay.
See how happy I am.
There you go. There's
like a day of traveling, glass of wine. Look how happy I am.
Oh, they're little videos.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
Oh, they're little live photos, yeah.
For any Future Farm fans out there, there's Sloane's Mackenzie. He greeted us kind of on the drive to the location, and oh, there you go. There's the yeah. So sorry, I skipped ahead there. There's the landing.
Oh, is this
but I won't
the
show you that
bounce?
because can I actually get there? It's just a long video.
It's great as you come in from them clouds. I think the bounce is pretty good in the video.
You can kind
isn't
of
it?
see here what I was talking about, like that cloud layer there, and then that's just the ground.
Suddenly ground because you're coming straight in over the mountains.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I'm just gonna forward.
I'm just gonna keep my eye on the chat. Logan asks when the new James Fox movie's coming out. It's got to be soon. I think he just wrapped doing the audio for it. Literally yesterday.
Up and re-landed there.
Here we go. Does the
There you
camera
go.
do
It happened already. It was quite the bump, but I guess the camera did not do it.
It's one of them. You have to be there.
So this was, we pretty much arrived at this point, and we were at the, before anyone says these things here, these are not UAP, they are lens flares from these lights here. Pro tip, just kind of making you lay with the same photo, make it half transparent, and just flip the image and it'll line up. But yeah, this was the view from the house of residence, main base, just I think maybe an hour or two after we'd gotten there, and a few of us had crashed, and I was still up kind of watching the mountain. You can see some lights off in the distance here, and obviously we weren't familiar with the area yet, so there was some flashing here that interested us that we didn't really know what it was. And yeah, that's kind of that was the travel, right?
Yeah, and I think like as soon as we're here in this garden, our eyes were on those mountains looking for these lights, and I feel like maybe we should explain a little bit about the light phenomenon. What do you reckon?
Yeah, go for it.
Wow, do you know what? I think somebody else would do this better.
Oh, there he is.
How are we, boys?
Great,
hold on a
thank you.
sec.
How are you?
It was so hard earlier on, Dan, saying that I've not got time to speak to you tonight. I have something better organized.
Well, that's totally fair. I would have proposed that we talk before, so this is much better to mix this in.
Yeah, sorry, Dan. I had this lined up. I just wanted to surprise one. So everyone, this is Ashley. I'm sure you know who he is. He is the brains behind the expedition. But Ashley, before we get into the actual images when we're in Colombia, would you mind just giving us a brief description of the phenomena that we were there to investigate?
In 1608, the mountain range was baptized by the Bishop of Tabio as the Hill of Dancing Lights, El Cerro de los Luces. And the phenomenon has been called El Encanto, the charm, the enchantment. It's been called the Mohan, the Mohanis over 400 years. So the phenomenon, let's leave it at that. We can get all into that, but it's 400 years it's been recorded in various different forms, generally blue, green, and red lights that come together and form one large, lighter, oblong-shaped golden ball. That's the phenomenon.
Sorry,
have we lost Vinny?
I was on mute there.
I'm here.
Oh, there he is. I think you just ran into the bathroom.
I just had to open a window. It's all good. Getting a bit warm here.
So Vinny has like a full production studio there. Ash, you should see it. It's he says this is attic room, like it's not plush and fancy, but I was impressed. It's like Mission Control.
You're saying that, but Eric went on there. He just did the quickest nappy change imaginable. Actually, we had a tech issue. Yeah, you're right.
Anyway, so thank you for that, Ash. Appreciate it. So yeah, obviously knowing, this had been building up for weeks and weeks and weeks. We'd had so many meetings leading up to it, like the three of us on private StreamYards, just talking about everything. So, as soon as we were there, our eyes were everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you find Ash living pretty much over there that wherever you are, kind of at nighttime, you're just glancing towards that mountain every now and then.
You guys got to see it, but myself and my wife, we built a wooden house on stilts, which faces that mountain. So every night for me, it's you put on the layers, it gets really cold in the Andes, and you sit there, tripod out at the ready, waiting for some kind of light to appear in the darkness. You can always see the silhouette of the mountain. So I dare say it's not just me, but for at least 400 years and a lot longer, I think everybody in the valley has been gazing at the top of this mountain. It's like a cultural fulcrum, a central point of focus that binds the communities out there, because you can imagine 600 years ago, if you're teaching about the clouds and the rain and the climate change, the elders would be pointing at this mountain, talking these things through legends. And it really is a sort of cultural point. As you know, it represents the female goddess Chia. So the mountain is similar to what it would be like living in Cairo with the pyramid on the skyline every day. That's what I think it's like.
Just going to stop there right here. Jay Allen raises a good point here. He says, I have to warn folks, if this theory goes down the drone route again, I'm going to lose my mind. What's left of it? Well, you know, that's a really interesting point.
Well, the fine as long as Green Street doesn't get a hold of it. Is it Green
Yeah.
Street?
I mean, Ash, you've seen drones in this area. You know, you've seen military drones in this area. This light phenomena is not drones. I mean, that's what I'll say.
We don't even, guys, even cover that suggestion in the documentaries, you know. And here's why: like 3 nights before you arrived, I filmed and published the fixed wing drone.
Yeah.
That was quite clearly a military reconnaissance drone that I believe would be launched from the private airport at the south of the valley. But the phenomenon we're filming are flashing lights, you know, quick, fast-moving lights. We're not filming classic drones sailing through the sky or Venus or roads. There's no roads up there. So drones isn't also in the packet that we can disregard. There's no visual evidence to suggest they're drones, and the people in our team know what drones look like. So it would be as far from the truth to say they're drones as to say they're UFOs. There's no, you know what I mean? There's nothing firm to say drone there at all.
Yeah, absolutely. And quickly before we move on, Mr. Strafe Wilson. Hello, Strafe. Good to see you. Update, still editing, on course for the 1st of May?
That's just a horrendous feeling. So here I am. I've just had 10 days at my mum and dad's in Caithness. You know what we did? We filmed together 2 weeks ago.
We did. We were in Scotland, 2 weeks ago, filming a different documentary. And Ash is still in Scotland now. He's not back in Colombia yet. But what can you tell us about May the 1st? Are we ready?
So May the 1st is a mile away from me. I've got 12 or 14 hours of editing to do when I get home up to May the 1st, because, of course, I'm still mastering episode 4, 5, and 6, and they're all going to roll out once a week from May the 1st. So the last episode won't be in completion before the first one goes out, which usually you'd like to see the whole thing in a box, packed and ribboned. But I'm not. It's going to be a bit of chaos when I get home, because we've filmed. So 9 days we filmed for, and we filmed over 500 hours of footage. I've got to review it. I've reviewed most, but for the final episodes, there's quite a complexity comes into it, as you know. So the story that's going to come through is going to take a real intense edit. So I'm not celebrating the May the 1st today. You're going to all see it, and it's going to look seamless, but I'm going to be like a ragged, burnt out knot by about May the 2nd. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I just brought up this comment here. So it doesn't matter what you say, they're going to claim it's drones anyway. I mean,
doesn't mean you shouldn't do the work, right? I would say.
Yeah. I mean, you know what it's like.
These two images on the screen, I don't think Dan suggested those were.
No, I think I just mean in general, like, you know, being in this community, you're going to get the naysayers. We're fully prepared for the naysayers.
Coming up here, you can kind of see. I'll just go through. We were talking about the kind of lights on the mountain, and if you just watch the left hand side of the screen there, now imagine that you don't know where you are, and you don't know the geography of the area, and then just watch the screen and look at all those. What you could describe as somewhat dancing lights on the hillside.
Hmm.
And I mean, they're not ultimately, but it was interesting figuring that out. You know, from the first night to the first morning, realizing, oh, hey, you know, there might be a road on that side or something like that, and you kind of you figure out the prosaic explanations, but that it just means that it's important to pay attention and do the actual work instead of just, you know, running off in one direction, for example.
Absolutely. We were stood in locations like we see on the screen, and we had laptops, phones, we were checking geographical locations, roads, things like that all the time throughout the 2 weeks we were there. We were checking magnetic anomalies in the area. Like we were doing so much to check the area.
I should say that you guys, when you were there, I told you this and I keep saying it, is I expected you two to be the pro UFO, everything that flashed is going to be intergalactic, and it was the reverse. You know, and we're not going to divulge the nature of it, but see, episode 2 brings what I would call one of the best bit of rationalization pieces of work that's been done yet, where you start with something and take it to a total conclusion. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah.
So we're not
Yeah,
going to be
exactly.
running about saying UFO, USO going into lake. It's not about that. This is phenomenology. So our film is about how people perceive phenomenon, what they think they see, and how the mind gets involved. And we've got like a team to do that with different perceptions on the same things. But we're not selling drones as UFOs. We're way beyond that.
The thing is, we're not selling UFOs. We're selling. We're not selling anything because we put everything out with no paywall. But what we're showing is a light phenomenon that you might consider something similar along the lines of the mystery of Hestalen in Norway, and things like that. It's something that definitely warrants a lot more analysis. This was an investigation to me personally, where we go out and identify something, and then after we've done that, we then decide how we can proceed further down the line.
Absolutely. And being and knowing what we know and what the public are about to watch and see is that if anybody said, what did you discover on the whole filming project, the answer would be closer aligned with perhaps a breakthrough in photonics and Wi-Fi technologies, more so than perhaps a breakthrough in alien hunting. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Something anomalous, that's for sure.
Oh, the anomalous side of it's the wonderful side, because one thing we're not doing here is we're not trying to say there's nothing mysterious, because it's bizarre in many parts. What's going on there? You know, let's not make the thing too dry.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can I ask you guys a couple of questions?
Yeah, of course.
I'm looking at the house we all stayed in. You've got to let me shut up and tell the audience what they're looking at here, guys. We stayed in this.
Oh yeah, because there's also a little thing in the background there that might be worth speaking about as well.
Oh, I only just noticed that.
What are you seeing?
Just on the hill above the house.
You can't see my finger. But
look at that. Yeah, that features heavily in the first episode. I should say this is cool. Let's do this for the audience, because I'm worried about it. I'm quite conscious that the first 20 minutes of episode 1 is we're indoors and we are talking machine gun fire. All these things are coming up and out, and we don't really get out to the end of the first episode. But I figured we've got 7 or 8 episodes. Let's not be in a hurry here. Let's really lay out what the phenomenon is. There's great question and answers with myself and my wife and the team. And then we get out there, and we're pretty much not indoors then for the rest of the season, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I just wanted to highlight this, because this was the moment for me where I was just like, wow, this kind of experience and respect for the phenomena permeates this place. You know, as soon as you got to a house, I was trying to find light switches, and I just found this, and it's just a tile commemorating the marine apparitions, the Fatima sighting, that many of us see as a UAP event now. But yeah, I thought it was quite cool that there's that crossover, and obviously it's not put on the wall as a UFO event there, but you know, it's kind of there's a crossover, and I think that was a really great example of it.
Can we explore this a little bit further then, Dan? So for me, filming this thing, remember, phenomenology, right? So this is
Sure.
what I take from this is for 120 years, people have gone back and forth to this site, to this church. And I'm a great believer, well, Jung said it, not me, that the wider one's knowledge base is and experience, the more synchronicity speeds up because you see more connections within remote things, apparently remote things. To you guys, bringing you there, you're seeing the Fatima connection with the UEP sighting. And I think that's wonderful. That's what the whole project's about, is bringing together all of the parts of the phenomenon that's 400 years old and presenting them as that, what you've just done. Here's a phenomenon. Here's the thing in Europe. It relates to UAP. And here we are in the Valley of the UAP, as you called it, the UAP theme park.
Yeah, that's where it felt like. You know, there's
Mhm.
a kind of a controlled experience in Galaxy's Edge, I think it's called, the Star Wars experience, the Star Wars park in Disney. And you can kind of you get in a shuttle and you go on a hotel to a hotel, and when you get out, all of the staff you encounter are actors, and you can speak to different characters and go on different quests, and they kind of take you in different directions. And it felt a little bit like that, but it wasn't that. It was a real place. Everyone had a UFO story or a UFO experience, or an experience that we would see in that way, you know, and kind of think, oh wow, you know, this really is a phenomenon that's been here for ages and goes by many, many different names depending on who is viewing it and their backgrounds and their beliefs.
Yeah,
Totally, Dan. And we were forever shocked, weren't we? Because every time we tried to say to all the witnesses and eyewitnesses who interviewed, your questions were always describe the phenomenon you saw, and they kind of scrunch their face and go, "What you mean the UFOs?" You
Yeah.
know, you can't get back from this aspect. Let's be honest, the entirety of the valley refer to them as UFOs. UAP hasn't really permeated the Colombian language, the culture there, but you know, the assumption is, and has been for 60 years, that it's UFO. And that's what was good for us, because we could just peel that word away and go, right, Stalin, Brown Mountain Lights, and do a bit of comparative work there, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I just wanted to highlight this one as well, because we're talking about the church
Oh, I
there.
love that.
And this is a really great example of
Hang on, I look like Wurzel Gummidge. Look at the shape of me. Honestly, look at that.
you look beautiful. So
Thank
Vinny
you.
and I got these hats. You saw us in the
Oh, yeah.
thumbnail for this, but we also, because you know we do a bit of fundraising come Christmas, so we also picked one up that will be a charity item. We were going to sign it, but then we figured that actually it means that people can't wear it. But yeah, there's a hat that we picked up while we were in Colombia, so it was, you know, a from behind the scenes of phenomenology type thing that comes all the way from across the world. So you can look like Vinny and I there and learn that you don't wear caps, you wear these round hats, because otherwise your ears get burned. I wore this a lot and I had burned ears.
Phenomenology 2022 starring Vinny Escobar. No, it's Dan Escobar and DJ Disclosure, but that's another story.
Hey, here's a really good point here. Did you put white stuff in the brown stuff? Milky Colombian coffee? No. Strong and black every morning and all day.
See that white stuff and the brown stuff? Is that a reference to sugar or to cocaine? Which one?
Well, it is Colombia after all.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
I'm sure
there's the
you boys will agree. You boys will agree. If you've watched Netflix and that's your perception of Colombia, you come to Colombia, all you need to see is a few photographs of shot up villages, and you don't put much white stuff near your nose again. Ain't
Nope.
fun.
Nope.
Look, guys, is this the UFO? So on our first day, go back there. On our first day, we were walking up a hill, acclimatizing, getting our lungs used to it.
Yes, it is, by the way. Yeah.
Dan, why don't you tell the story? What happened there? I remember.
A gentleman came to the gate. Unfortunately, I don't have anything, but we filmed a
That was
little
his
there.
gate
But
there,
he
right?
came to the gate to tell us the story, and basically on the wall here, there were a few stories about abductions, and I think if I remember correctly, the person was abducted and came back with a message for George Bush.
That's it.
And wrote to him to deliver it, I think, and that's kind of as far as the story went. But still, you know, they had an experience where they did that. And he came out and he spoke to us, and he was a really well dressed gentleman, and was an absolute delight to speak to. And he spent a bit of time with us, and we saw him around town a few times actually over the course of the 2 weeks.
Indeed.
I'm just going to jump in here and just say, a lot of people are asking questions in the chat, and just to keep the photographs flowing, because we've got over 300.
My good Lord.
I've flagged all the questions so we can get to them at the end, unless it's relevant to a certain photograph. So Yorne, Sean, Strafe, you asked something earlier as well. I've saved all your questions. I will be asking them or answering them. Sorry.
Do you know, Dan, if the next time you see a church, let's set this up too. Since the phenomenon was first reported in 1608, it's had really big Christian overlays, where the sites that were dedicated to Chia, the moon goddess of the indigenous culture, have all become Marianne churches dedicated to Mary. So Mary has been the moon goddess who was associated with lights for 400 years. So one of our research methods out there is, if you want to find indigenous sites, you plot the church spires, and it's beautiful there because you see in the valley all these beautiful church spires all kind of aligned to Waika, and it's because they overlay the ancient sites as we visited and know.
Dan, do you want to play any of those videos that we skipped, or are you cool?
I mean, I feel like we're going on a good clip. If there's anything, it's basically the daily updates, but we can I'll save those videos for when we're going up Waika, I think, because a lot of them are just basically.
Look,
so
Mr. Ryan Sprague. Ryan says, hi, all, so stoked for Phenomenology, and I'm so honored to know Vinny, Dan, and Ashley. They are staring the phenomena in the face and aren't afraid to embrace it, staring back.
And staying hydrated whilst doing so.
I should say a thing here.
Thank you, Ryan.
It was only there at the start of coronavirus that I got into your world. Really thought, I'm going to start listening to this crack about UAP. And Ryan was one of the first podcasts that I found, right? Because he was one of the bigger ones. And I always used to make sure I had the Disclosure Team, that UFO podcast, and then Ryan's one. And then I found myself in this cycle of everything else I listened to, I kind of compared to those three. And you discover quite quick that there are only three. Really, right?
I don't know. You want to see my watch later list? I'd say there's a million other podcasts that I try to keep up with.
You try to keep up with them, but to get actual interesting content, look at this. There's your cave of the Marian apparition.
Yeah, this was really beautiful. And I loved hearing about that history as we were in these places. You know, it's one thing to kind of see them, but it's another thing to really feel what the place is like. You know, there was a real kind of, even though it was full of dogs barking, there was a real kind of peace there. You know.
Yeah, those dogs. What was that all about? It was unholy.
This also is not the phenomena. This is
the quality of UAP photographs, guys. Isn't it? I mean, look, there's 19 of them in the sky at one time.
No, I think this was a time lapse I did. I added this shouldn't actually be in there. This was a fail on a time lapse.
I posted this one to social media, and a few people thought I was insinuating that this cloud here was maybe a UAP. I was not. It's just a cool looking cloud. That's all.
It's quite clearly a drone, right?
And one thing I will say, one thing I'll say to people, you keep seeing shots like this of that mountain, that peak that you can see in the middle there, that is the peak, that is Waika, where the light phenomena has been reported for 400 years.
Just so people know how long, so I'm just going to wiggle my mouse here to get from about here, and we had to kind of come down the side and maybe down here. How long did it take for us to ascend?
It was 3 hours.
Ascend,
it was 3 hours.
Do you think so? Not longer?
No, it wasn't longer. We actually got it fairly quick, I think, in the comparison to what we expected that day.
I think there's something we should talk just when you're wiggling the point on the peak of that mountain. That peak is still today is known as La Puerta de los Dioses, the doorway of the gods. Because the phenomenon has been reported there at that peak for so long. So, the doorway of the gods is where the gods are said to have come from a place that time forgot into this world through that mountain where the lights are seen.
Yeah, that was right here. And that was the mirror door, which you'll see again from, we went up there. It was good to have a decent idea of how long that took and how much effort it took, because slapping equipment up there would just be a nightmare. Like the big light, I can imagine trying to get the big film lights up there with us to, make the displays of light that have been reported, and it would just be a nightmare. I don't think that's
You
what's
have to get a heli drop, you know.
Yeah.
Stay on that
yeah.
for a second, Dan, because one thing I will just state is that massive flat stone rock face that you see, pretty much all of that picture, there is no access. That is, no one can get on that face. It's too vertical. There are no paths, and that is where the light phenomena appears. It is in a place and a location on that mountain where it's physically impossible, unless you've got, you know, all your ropes and climbing gear, and you'd still need ridiculous lighting and stuff. It's virtually impossible to get anywhere other than the peak coming from the side.
And it's been closed for 18 months by the police legally. The whole thing's closed, right? I didn't tell you guys. I didn't tell you guys before you came, but there was like robberies of tourists a week before you came. So
dude, we knew what was going on.
You know the crack.
Yeah.
They closed the mountain. A couple of guys
on the mountain and stuff.
Yeah. So that, can you imagine the underlying anxiety I was going through? Not only could I make it to the top, I'm a bit older than you, but it was, are we going to get back down without getting into some awful? So that's why we had Julio and the three amigos, right? They were ahead of us and behind us. They were locals, they were guides. So that felt good having them there for me.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
I love this shot. Look at that painting.
I know, it's beautiful. And again, you've got, you know, the UAP, the UFO, the light from heaven, you know, whatever you want to call it. It's present again in this beautiful landscape picture in a way that's really subtle, that you don't usually see, you know, UAP art like that.
There's lots of archetypes in that picture. That rainbow, the gods are said to travel on the rainbow from Waika to Mohoy across the valley. They like to travel as colors. So the rainbow in this instant represents the phenomenon between the two mountains.
Ah, very interesting. That's really cool.
We should say our film greatly focuses on this one because everything was pointing towards this. We were at the base of this one, but it does have a partner. You know, this is the female mountain. Look at it, shaped like a breast. But the male mountain that features too. Look at this. She's photographed everything.
This was a really beautiful place. We had lunch here, and it was just, you know, there was a little bookshop here that was in the front of the restaurant. And who was it run by? Remind me.
It's the name of the place is Mary's.
There you go.
And it's Natty Doss, our fixer producer's sister, that owns it.
This is Natty Doss.
There's Natty Doss. There she is.
I have to say, the food was phenomenal.
It's actually the whole film's about.
You just filmed a scene there that's better than anything I've filmed. It was like that. You floated in, and now you're at the table, and I'm in it.
Well, this is the cool thing about this is the really cool thing about you know, iPhones and things like that. You can just get them. They're just more versatile than cameras used to be. You know, we all kind of have one, and
the stabilizers are so good now that you can actually use it for cutaways in the final documentary. It's good enough for you to drop a scene in with an iPhone if you didn't get it on anything else. They're really good. Only now with the 13, really, the 12 and the 13.
Sorry if there's a little noise in the background from me. There's my neighbor is fixing a motorbike.
Oh, it's a minor bird. Did you see you've got a minor bird?
No. Neighbors fixing a motorbike. And
a motorbike. I think you said a minor bird. I thought, get it on screen. I want to meet this guy. Right, back to the slides. We're not on to minor birds.
So these were just some things around the restaurant that we were looking at. This was, I mean, you can see it here. I was looking for a notebook the whole time and I couldn't find one. And then I found this one, which was lovely. And purchasing it helped me, you know, support a local business. And it was really nice to, you know, spend money in the community and give back because it was so lovely to us.
It was also cool because you whipped it out at the end of every scene. So I got kind of an over-the-shoulder Dan updating the picture on the front of the diary, or someone else doing it. I think everybody
I'll show you here. So everyone, basically I got everyone to sign this, and I say everyone, there were a few people missing. It was just the participants who, I guess weren't making the film. But you and Natty have to sign it, Ash.
I never did it. I was actually heartbroken. I watched everyone else, and I was like, "When's Dan gonna ask me to do this?"
Oh no, I'm sure I asked you. It was just it was a rounded but you can see it there. Everyone signed it. And it was cool. There you go. It's balanced up there. So again, some wonderful food.
So this is the interview.
Yeah.
I'll just say this to everyone watching: is we have purposely taken out a lot of clips and stuff from the actual investigations that we were doing, because we just wanted to show behind the scenes and not spoil anything for when the series comes out. So yeah, Ash, if you want to talk about this a little bit, you can, but I didn't want to spoil anything.
I don't, because the thing is, I'm delighted what you're showing here, because you're not actually showing anything that we're using in the film. So thanks a lot.
Yeah. No problem. We did go through it with a fine-tooth comb.
Yeah, so for everyone watching as well, this does just look like a 2-week holiday that we're showing tonight, because we have taken out everything to do with the actual investigations, because it just would spoil the documentary series when it comes out.
This is a lovely thing. This is lovely for your audience to consider. See this picture right now? So you're watching this from Dan's perspective tonight, but look where I am and look where my camera is. Imagine what they look like in that setting from that camera perspective. They're about to interview 2 local business owners over an eyewitness account that they made themselves, and they describe it out. And I filmed about a 45-minute interview, Dan and Vinny, with these people, and they're like 2 of the most respected folk in town. So it's so good to have these people on in their own business. And as you said, Dan, every single scene in our film supports another local business, whether it's a local Julio and his brothers, whether it's not the police, we couldn't use them, but this shop, for instance, the coffee shops, we saw people preparing this stuff. So it is really culturally rich. There's no scenes, there's no studios. It's all in scene, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. How did you find, because I think this was probably the first interview that Vinny and I have done in person together with people, like after all the podcasts we've done and the people we've spoken to. Yeah, that was. How did you find that, Vinny, being in front of the camera?
I didn't mind being in front of the camera, and I think this one was a good start for the interviews we did over the duration of the trip, because luckily these guys spoke English, so we were okay.
That's not luck. That was really well planned by Natty and I. We made sure your first one was not going to be with someone like some of the other people we filmed.
Because we did do interviews. We did do interviews with people that we had to have translators, and that's where things get a little bit difficult. So luckily, I will keep saying luckily for me, it was a bit more straightforward because they were English speaking. So
and they were very clear. Let's talk about that guy, because we don't have to reveal anything, but we're allowed to tease. We did a lot of work.
Yeah, tease. This is literally what this is for. Like, just give some information.
In this interview, talks about an Oxford professor and his opinion on what they saw. Remember, so we have the opinion of an Oxford professor on this particular site, and I remember that in the interview. That'll be used.
There we go.
Nice, thank you. Oh, this is great, Ash. I'm glad you could join us.
I was a bit miffed. I just thought, oh, look, the 2 guys, you're giving it from your perspective. And I thought, maybe there's no space for me here, because it would be interesting to hear it from an outsider's perspective, but I'm loving it. I'm loving being involved.
Ash, tell us what this is here, because this blew my mind.
Yeah, this was cool.
So the valley has 2 villages, Tabio and Tenho. One of the villages, Tenho, has such a history of the phenomenon being cited from the village that the local mayor, who was voted in last year, has used a UFO in the official town crest and got it rubber stamped by head authorities in Bogota. So predominant is the phenomenon in this town that you can see it. Look at the UFO above the church.
Yeah, it's very, very cool that it's that prevalent.
It's everywhere.
Do you know what documentary makers have to do to try and find, like, you watch the Area 51 documentaries, one thing that's going to happen is everyone's going to have the alien, that one in, before, and they're so pushed for content, but we everything we looked at, everywhere you turn, paintings, aliens, ovnis, light phenomenon, UFOs. It's just so rich.
Yeah, totally.
Hence the reason you were there. This is great. There's the valley there. We were staying at the base, sort of at the base of that mountain, right? That hilltop.
Yeah. It was just beautiful. I mean, and the thing is, we're in the local. I think that's one of the local taxis. Am I right?
Let's see. Is it a bus?
Well, we had drivers and stuff, didn't we? It was strange. People just turned up and took us places. It was quite bizarre.
Yeah, we had different drivers for different days. Sometimes we needed, like Julio and I keep calling them the three amigos. They had the old 4x4, the Mitsubishi, when we needed to go up Wyke and stuff. But these are the town. Oh no, that's a 4x4. Were you guys not in the back of that?
Oh, that's coming up, I'm sure.
Right, that's like some of the most
This one actually, where I'm filming, kind of you can see I kind of hang my hand low by the tire. And yeah, my phone was covered in dirt. I was just like, oh my god, I didn't or at least I forgot that those mud flaps were not protecting my phone. They were protecting, the underside of the car there. Yeah.
There's
Yeah, Walter's here in the chat saying that was a taxi.
It was a taxi.
Yeah.
You're not meant to say that. You're meant to say it's Ash's cool 4x4 off-road thing. Not taxi. I'm going to just write there, thanks, Walter, you bust me.
So
Walter is one of the guys that was on the trip, right? Walter, I can tell people who you are because we're going to just about to show the world Walter's works with he's a space analyst in North America. So we had kind of like what would you say? How much would you need a space analyst on a UAP investigation? It's like perfect. So he's a drone pilot too, and this is who you're seeing shouting at us here. So the world will know Walter on the first domain.
Definitely. Oh, definitely.
Walter
was so invaluable. He was just so valuable. I mean, man, without Walter, we wouldn't have had some of the important insight and stuff like that. He was so cool.
It was a case where Walter, for some reason, he doesn't know it because you can see he's oblivious, but when maybe the table's sitting down engaged in a conversation, Walter will appear with a set of binoculars at a window in the distance, and you're like, he's just constantly on the phenomenon, right? Constantly looking for the lights.
Shall we use this moment to kind of introduce everyone? Just because these were some of my favorite moments, actually, just because no matter what we were doing in the day, and some days some of us went out and other ones were recovering. Vinny, sorry, that wasn't you, that was another guy. That's DJ. But yeah, it was a good kind of place to debrief at the end of every day and just talk about what we felt about the day. And many people here were just experiencing life in different areas, and it was great to hear different angles and just get that rational side of things. No one was debunking, but everyone was kind of skeptical in their own kind of ways. But we all had different biases as well. I think I discovered that within myself when I was out there, so that was interesting. But yeah, let's go from the left. Ash, you kind of vetted these people and accepted them, and let them onto the project. So start from the left and tell me who this person is.
Yeah. So this is Jeshran Rassingham, who is an analyst from London. He's involved in international politics. Just say that, it's broad enough. He's a big data analyst. He leans towards skeptic, but definitely one of the more open ones of the team. He's got big parameters. One of Jesh's lines, which is going to come out on the 1st of May, one of his first lines is, I shouldn't disregard interdimensional, and I shouldn't disregard extraterrestrial, but I lean towards it being an unexplained natural phenomenon. And that's big. That's Jesh.
Jesh was awesome, man.
Yeah.
Such a cool guy.
Really, such a cool guy. Low anxiety, chatting away, really good at it. I thought he was great.
Yeah, very, very well traveled as well. So he kind of gathered some interesting perspectives, and there was a moment where we thought, oh my god, he might be in danger, and actually he kind of had it right. Like he was fine, and he was just like, no, I know what I'm doing. I've done this before in places. So yeah, that it was interesting to have him on board. And then
And then
Lydia.
left is Lydia Romer. Lydia is an attorney and judge in one of the New York districts. Lydia has been to Colombia on 3 occasions. This was her 3rd return. So on our panel of, let's call ourselves UAP enthusiasts, no such thing as an expert, Lydia was good because she would make quite blunt, straight calls. Like when we present some of the photographs that I've taken historically, which might or might not represent the phenomenon as we explore, Lydia's quick to determine whether she thinks this was a torch or absolutely not. So while a lot of us explore ideas, Lydia didn't say much, but would make these really snap, sharp judgments. So she plays a really interesting role. And also kind of, Lydia, she's most, if you could design your own granny, it would be Lydia, right? She's the most gentle, lovely, welcoming person in the world, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But with the best New York accent as well.
Oh, just deep state. Yeah, totally. And then we go around the table. Look, so next, are we getting the victory of Natty Doss? We are.
Yeah.
We call her Natty Doss, which is quite, her name's Natty Castellanos, Natalia Castellanos, but my wife's name's Natalia also. So we have Natalia Uno and Natalia Doss because
And together they are called
the Illuminati. The 2 Natties, it's perfect, isn't it? The Illuminati.
Yeah.
So Natty Doss is a producer. She is a translator. She filmed for me, with me. She is great. So she was like at the heart of preparing the whole show. And she was with us all week. Wasn't she great, guys?
Yeah, really, really kind of insightful in terms of the ancestral side and the spiritual side, because she hadn't long found out that she had kind of a Moisca heritage. And it was really interesting going to these places and asking her about what she learned, because she just knew a lot, and could kind of, I felt like she translated the subtleties well. She thought about what she was saying.
I think it was more as well, it was comforting to have someone local just there, hanging out with us and making us understand everything. I had so many questions all the time, and I'm sure I went to Natty so many times and were like, what's this? What's that? Explain this, explain that. And she was just like, boom, 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 like just done, amazing.
And also when we got to the mountains and stuff, the hilltops, she is aware and knows the Moisca rituals to ask for permission to enter the mountain, and then for permission to be safe, and then to leave. And it was lovely. She'd do offerings of tobacco and stuff. You did a rap, didn't you, with her on the Moy?
Yeah, there's a picture coming up of that you'll see. But yeah, every opportunity I could, I just went head first in. People are kind of been very gracious enough to send me out there, so I just felt I could do nothing less than just embrace the experience and whatever came with it. So yeah, I kind of partook in a number of those ceremonies, and they were interesting sensations. Having that blown up your nose, but it's sorry, go on.
No, please, I can interrupt you later. Go on.
It's actually, I'll hold it because we'll get to a point here where there are some photos that I was about to talk about the ceremony in the hut, but we'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there.
So then you've met Walter,
So this is Walter Payne, myself, and this is Natty, my wife, and then it comes around to Dan.
Oh, ignore me. Go back to Natty, your wife, and tell
Natty, let's go back to me. Let's go back to me and spend a good 25 minutes solid. Natty, my wife beside me, she produced pretty much everything, dealt with all of the locations and making sure we had the right permissions from the police, and all the nuances being sorted out. Like, I've got terrible Spanish, and while I can get a yes, you can go up the mountain, Natty gets all of the details, make sure everybody's fed, make sure the cleaners, the cooks, and all the people that make the mechanics of the film come together. So between Natty Uno and Natty Doss, I was left to greatly just look through the camera lens and trying to figure out what to record, and they just took care of like everything else production wise. So there's Natty Uno and Natty Doss.
Yeah, it was incredible, man. I felt spoiled. I'm so used to doing things. And when we were there, everyone was doing everything for us. And that felt really bizarre to me, you know, having food cooked for you and just being told, yep, this is sorted. You just have to be here. You know, it was great. It was strange, but great.
I get here's the big thing that they did for me too, is they covered my feelings in the sense that I think we were on to day 4 when I remember I was so deeply entrenched into and panicking that I was getting things right. Like, am I pressing the record button on the sound? Is the lighting going to be fine? Is the battery, do we have batteries for later? The whole thing. And if I forgot I was a host as well. You
I
guys
love
were
this
there.
picture of Ash.
Oh yeah, that's a
You
cool picture.
Yeah, that's a satisfied person right there. You're in your element.
I don't know
On
if
a mission.
I look away in a world of our own, but that we were in a world of our own. So yeah.
Yeah, it was that moment
There's
before we
Chia.
were on at Waika, so you would have been very focused there. Here I won't show this again just in case you use it in the film, but it's Ash explained that there was a reason that
You can show this. I don't think there's any harm because it's what it is real honesty. There's no, we're not. I can't even remember filming it until I watched it there last week, and I was like, but it tells a story, I think.
It does, and the thing is that while Dan lays up the video ready to play, this was not just one vehicle. We were in convoy of 2, sometimes 3 vehicles as well, and you kind of stand out like a sore thumb. And we knew and we were aware that going up to some of these locations, there are bandits in the area that kind of keep their eye out for people that stand out, like gringos, you know, the white man. So yeah, we did have to be quite careful.
Yeah, you're
police with us.
Right. We couldn't tell Dan and Vinny and everybody before they came, but the truth is, these mountains are really dangerous. There's lots of quite poor families. They fall small cartels, okay? So they follow the tourists up and rob them at the top. So what we had to do today to make sure everybody was safe was to send police cars and trucks up there all morning to signal outwards that there's activity and cops up here today. So now we're coming up in a group of about 15 people. Nobody's going to touch us. We're a small army. Yeah, that's the truth.
Oops. There we go.
That's cool. And then we got up there, and unfortunately we couldn't go any further than here. So we kind of flipped the script and went over to the other side of the valley. But
We
not
flipped the script.
before.
Do you know what happened to me when those cops said you ain't going any higher? I'm like, you and Dan and Lydia and Vinny and Walt, you accumulated 50,000 miles to get there and home, and we're not getting up the mountain. You've no idea. I nearly took a stroke that day. And usually we flipped the script and went to the other mountain. Fortunately, Natty Doss flipped my script and got us up the other mountain.
I'm just going to respond to this. Jay Allen, any questions regarding anything that we may or may not have seen? I'm going to avoid answering at this point, just to avoid any spoilers from the documentary series. My apologies. What we are going to be doing, and for everybody, when the episodes do air weekly on the Phenomenology channel, as soon as each episode's aired, we are going to be going live to discuss the episode, and that's when we can really talk about things. But until it's out, I just don't want to spoil anything. So yeah, I know that sucks sometimes for people, but I think it's just the right thing to do.
I think you're absolutely right, but I'm reading this, guys. What was that question there, the last one? Because what he was asking was it all passive observation? That's the direct question, isn't it?
But yeah, did it react to us, or was it passive observation? Like, just,
okay.
Yeah. But I think that'll all be, it'll all be clear in the series, you know. Yeah, without saying anything, you know, I don't want to spoil anything for anyone.
Anything you say there is going to set people away thinking something.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. It's a really difficult one. Jay Allen, I hope you understand, my friend.
So this is Mohoy that we're up here. This was the Rapi ceremony where I was first introduced to that. And I just
maybe we should explain what Rapi is.
Halmita. There you go. Yeah, go ahead, Ash. You're more informed on the history. So.
You can imagine 2 bird leg bones hollowed. So you have 2 hollow pipes, and they are joined at a right angle with a wee bracket. So you put powdered tobacco, so let me go back. The indigenous people take tobacco leaves and dry them for 2 years, carefully controlling the climate so no mold forms. They rub that up and powder it, and they put it in the end of a pipe. So as you, hang on, let me get this right. Yeah, you blow down one end of the pipe. As you sniff up your left nostril, and you get a really intense punch of tobacco. It expands the lungs, gives you energy, clears the head, makes you talk, and it cleanses you. So it's part of a cleansing ceremony when you're at the top of the mountain. So there we go. It's like a snuff, if you like, in Old England, but delivered with a pipe, self-administered. How did you find it was then?
It was really great. It kind of gave you just a little bit of headspace after just exhausting yourself, kind of really exerting effort to get to the top of to get to the peak. It was really nice as well to kind of just take that moment at that time to acknowledge the history of the place that you were stood in and what that meant to people that have come before you. I don't think we do that enough these days, and it just, at the very least, it gave you that space to be mindful of the moment and present in the moment, which I feel like, that would have been appreciated if I was to get in a time machine and go back then to just kind of sit there and take part and really consider the import of the place. They kind of, I think I said to you at one point that going up and down to these peaks, it felt like they were different realms that you passed through that had kind of, different ecology, different feelings, different sounds. And yeah, it was just bizarre, kind of really, really otherworldly.
So much, and it's not imagination that makes it otherworldly. Here's why. When you're at 10,000, 8,000 feet, 8,500 feet where we started, when you ascend 500 feet from there, the air again halves. So without the supply of oxygen to your brain, colors do become brighter, smells do become more intense. You sweat and there's no breath. You're cold because you're sweating, and you've got this driving cold air, thin air, but yet the sun is on your forehead, so you can be. Everything changes. Your perception of everything in your reality is slightly warped, so it truly is otherworldly. And the higher you go, by the time you get to the top of La Peña de Huayca, it feels wholly otherworldly, where even what you see changes. Everything becomes higher resolution. Do you understand that?
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. I mean, it was. Yeah. We were warned about it a lot, about the change of, how it would all change, and you felt it definitely. And I think the good thing is, we climbed 2 mountains. We climbed Mahoy before we climbed Huayca, and Mahoy gave us a good opportunity to experience that before we did the big one. But yeah, for sure, I remember it vividly, the feelings and everything, and yeah, it was incredible.
Remember when we left to go up Mahoy? I certainly was. I was getting quite paranoid because I saw Dan going off with Natty does like a spring lamb up the hill, and then
the dogs are going so fast.
Jesh pummels past Vinny and I saw Jesh going at a pace, and Vinny and I were kind of like, we're taking a while to climatize here. And I bet you maybe Vinny was 100 meters further. We come round a corner and Jesh was like a starfish on a rock. Done.
Yeah.
And I was like, yes, it's not going to be Vinny and I.
JT Parker says, without coca leaves, I'm going to hold my hands up and say, I did have some coca leaves to help me up. So I'm going to say that now.
Yeah. Again, it gave you headspace, and it really kind of, it was like having an energy drink, but without any of that kind of downside that comes after you've had too many of them. You're shaking and the hummingbird's wings are going slow for you. You didn't get any of that stuff. It just kind of gave you a little, like one energy drink.
So, and just so we don't get any ridiculous comments, we should say quick that the coca leaf, when it's digested, it obviously expands the lungs. It gives you more. You can metabolize oxygen easier, and it's as close to cocaine as perhaps the fluoride in toothpaste will hurt you. It's just not the same thing. It's a completely different thing.
And again, J. Allen raises a good point here to a degree. He says, personally, I would avoid discussing the substances that were available or used during this exploration. It's inevitable that a skeptic will say these are induced phenomena. And I see that point, but
yeah, absolutely.
They wouldn't.
Go on. I was just going to say, I would emphasize that like we were aware of that, and at no point in this are you going to hear us say we took this and then we saw that and therefore that
Yep.
was real. Like, just know we didn't go there, and I totally appreciate that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Definitely.
You
Yeah.
guys know, who is the guy? This is my answer to this one. I've got to chip this in. Is if you were to suggest those things, we would have to listen to you, but I would immediately ask you to tell me how then a Canon 5D gets affected.
I mean, Canon 5Ds, if you put mushrooms into them, they see other realms. Like, that's how it works.
Yeah, lenses don't get
Plus,
tobacco.
these guys would not bother with us if we were doing that. We were extremely lucky to have some time with Luis Elizondo and Sean Cahill, who we were doing investigations. We were out there, so we literally got to present them with some ideas, with some things we were looking at, and kind of go, help. What would you guys do if you were here? How would you investigate this? And just being told a few pointers on that from the guy that ran ATIP, like, that's pretty cool.
You know what's going to happen is that you guys aren't even going to be on the DVD cover for this. It's just going to be this Lou Elizondo.
Just Lou.
Featuring Lou Elizondo and Sean Cahill, and then at the bottom it's got us. Yeah, that's cool.
No, it was great. Both Sean and Lou, they're very experienced. We saw and unidentified that they both go and gather, I guess, what we would call human, just talking to people around Guadalupe and Catalina. So they've done this before, and they were able to kind of give us a few pointers.
Yeah.
One of the things that was recommended that I didn't expect was that Lou recommended we talk to priests, because in these areas of the world, this is the kind of person that will be confided in by the locals. And I just thought, oh yeah, of course, that's a brilliant idea, and it didn't even occur to me. So, remember, you don't always know everything you need to know before you start investigating. So someone can just throw a great idea into the mix.
I think the good thing about this for me was this was midway through the investigation as well, when we spoke to Lou and Sean, and it kind of, not that we needed it, but it certainly was a boost to show that the things that we were telling them that we'd done were, they were telling us, you're doing the right thing, you're going in the right directions with this investigation. And yeah, they added a couple of things onto what we hadn't done, but yeah, it was a real boost for me personally.
And as a filmmaker, I mean, come on, think of what it was for me when you said, listen, guess what we're doing today? And I'm like, oh, well, are we?
Yeah, they probably gave us their time. It was I planned this for a while out, and I wouldn't tell Ashley who we were speaking to. I just said I needed a chunk of time, and something was going to be happening. And it was amazing to gather the group and introduce Lou and Sean to Walter and Lydia and Jash, and you and Ash, and you guys have all picked up conversation, and I feel like I built a useful bridge there. Certainly Walter and Lou felt like they started talking a different language to each other, because they were talking like in intelligence terms, and it was just, oh, okay, you guys clearly know each other from this. It's like a secret handshake or something.
We quite clearly knew quite quickly that we were on the outside of something else.
Yeah.
Yeah, indeed.
So you'll see these throughout. These were just the video updates that Vinny and I were putting up. I'm happy if people want to just cut all these together and chuck them up on YouTube, so you can watch them. But if you listen to the audio kind of updates that we did and watch the Instagram updates as we went, you will have seen these, but we will put them somewhere for you.
Yeah, so there's some on my Instagram, and there's some on That UFO Podcast audio.
You'll be dropping them large, closer to the...
Oh, here we go. Right, who wants to tell the story? Because I'm not doing it.
I think Ash did. He tells it so well.
Right. How does it start? It starts with...
It starts after that. It starts after... I'll chime in on... So that conversation with Lou and Sean was on the Saturday afternoon. And on the Saturday evening, we were hosting guests. So locals, witnesses, for a kind of a barbecue and a party, weren't we? So I started drinking quite early.
He did start drinking quite early.
And I'll say that's what I'm saying.
He didn't start drinking early. So he started drinking a lot really early. And what was happening was these folk Latinos, not very many of them with English, were there, and there was quite a cult them and us thing going on. And I thought, a couple of wines and we'll all come together. So I'm sitting behind bushes, filming everyone, chatting, close-ups and everything. And I scan through this bush, and I get to Vinny, and he's looking a bit worse for the wear. The hoodie's up and the head's down, and he is right into this piece of sweet, soul-y, beachy music, and everyone was loving it. And the next thing, it was like the gates of hell opened. He dropped a drum and bass number, right? And through my camera lens, I could see this woman putting her lipstick and stuff in the bag, standing up and moving. And I touched Vinny on the elbow and said, Vinny, you're clearing the party out here. And he's like, wait for it, wait for it, wait for it. And I did. I thought, let's see where this goes. And the biggest D&B clangers started coming. And Dan and I were just broken laughing watching this party evacuate. And Vinny giving it laldy with the hood down.
It was in that moment that Ashley dubbed this character DJ Disclosure, which I thought was just wonderful. We need to get Vinny's logo and change it up so it just says DJ Disclosure, and that'll be an amazing t-shirt.
It seems to happen once in every shoot, because we experienced something similar only 2 weeks ago, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
Oh,
Did up in Loch Ness, but it's lovely. It's like Vinny's always so happy in those moments. It's never like,
I said to my mum, I said he's not. There's no aggro. I said he turns into the big cuddly life advice guy when he gets drunk.
Yeah,
I was vibing, man.
Totally.
Lara wants to see it.
We do. No. We could do that at Christmas. We have enough of Vinny now. You know, right into the B&B. A wee 3-minute Christmas special. Maybe do it for your fundraiser. See if we can see if you can make some money from this fundraiser with
No, dude, we'll put DJ Disclosure on the premium Patreon.
On the premium Patreon.
If you want to see the good shit, you got to pay for it. I'm kidding, of course. You know, I know people take that shit seriously, but yeah, the world's not ready for DJ Disclosure.
Not yet, but you know, we're moving towards such times.
I'm just seeing if I can find very quickly.
I'm just going to give a quick shout out to everybody in the live chat for being here.
There you go. This is just a little DJ disclosure.
Don't do it.
There you go. That's enough of that. But just a little treat for you.
It was a cracking social night, though, guys, wasn't it? Just like 30, 40 people.
It was amazing.
Came through, and we had people giving us stories, witnesses, accounts, people telling us. You know, we remember that guy that was there, Miguel, whose grandfather funded a governmental scientific exploration in Wyke in the 60s.
Yeah. That's the thing, you know, that's what I, you know, yeah, I'd had a couple of wines, but we still got some good interviews done. We got some footage and stuff. And the stories we were hearing ranged from scientific stuff like you just mentioned, Ash, to also people telling us stories of UFOs landing on the mountain and things like that. It was crazy. So
in a lake. Remember the lake? They appeared to land so often in a lagoon at the top and then take off that they took geologists up, and climatologists trying to figure out what this phenomenon was. So
yeah,
isn't it wonderful? It's like we didn't, as I said, there's so many people have to scrape a barrel to fill a documentary, but we've got the biggest problem is what's going to not be used. I mean, there's just endless accounts of this.
Too much, yeah. This is the next day, which I didn't quite make. I was feeling a bit worse for wear. So, Dan, if you guys want to talk about this, I'm going to take a bathroom break. I'll be back in a minute.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, Ash, do you want to take the lead as I kind of just go through the photos here, explain where we are, and especially remember to mention, because this really sat with me, we were asked to take something there, and we did, and then it kind of turned around on us in a very kind way. So if you know what I'm on about, if you don't, I will jump in with it. But
let me try to think what you're taking there.
We were asked to pick up some items to take to them.
Oh yeah, so let's do this. Yeah. Let's do this. The chap you can see this is me with my back to you, and the person who's sitting center screen, his name is Candil Mamanchi. Candil Mamanchi, and I'm sure a lot of listeners are going to have seen and know of Lake Guatavita, the circular lake in central Colombia that served as a center of alchemists, early 13th century goldsmiths were making all these fine, intricate pieces of Moisca gold art through the lost wax gold process and the casting process. He is the leader of the Guatavita community, who is the keeper of the myths, the legends, the medicine, the ways of the growing. We appealed to him to come and film in the Guatavita community, which not very many people ever get access to. This is exceptionally sacred land and has been for thousands of years. He insisted that he would love to use phenomenology as a way of sharing his experiences with light phenomenon and ancestral reports of light phenomenon. And he insisted that to do that, we would bring him 3 tubes of salchicha pork sausage, a loaf of bread, and that we would help him with a project that day. So we said yes to all 3. We got ourselves the sausages, we got ourselves the bread, which we thought was pretty humble, not a lot, to film in a sacred community with the Guatavita people. And then we got there, Dan, right? Remember what happened? He showed us this, I don't know, maybe a 2 by 3 meters square looking hole in the ground that was filled with clay tarry sludge. They looked at us 8 gringos standing in a line, not knowing where we were, and they said, if you move that mud down there so we can lay a clay foundation for another temple, we'll be good to film. So look, we all had to get our sleeves rolled up, and we excavated using buckets in our bare hands, I reckon 2 ton of mud and water from their well. We essentially created them a well, a fresh water well for the community. So it was 3 sausages, a loaf of bread, and about 2 hours of hardcore dirty work, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was amazing though.
It was truly rewarding.
Bear with me. I've just lost my second screen.
I'll keep telling them what's going on here because it's important.
Do that. Give me a second.
Yeah, indeed. The Guatavita community there, Candil, they don't work on an economic currency the way they do. They don't accept cash. Cash means nothing to them. So what really, really matters is people that care enough to actually go and sweat a bit and use their bodies and apply themselves. And so we took a lot to the community that day, and we then had this wonderful lunch with them outside in the sun after doing the work, and then we went in and recorded this, I would say, an hour-and-a-half interview with Candil that's ranged from everything from, I'm going to use the term, guys, we're not saying it in the Phenomenon documentary, but I'm going to say it here. We kind of upgraded ancient aliens. It's what we did. We talked about UAP in the ancient world, but within the mythology of the Moiscan Chibcha people, and that's never been publicized before. Their mythologies have never been heard. But Candil, being in his 40s, took us all the way through to modern sightings that he's had himself near Bogota and around the valley. So we invested a bit time, and as a team applied ourselves, because we're on average much taller than they are. We can move more mud in an hour than they could do with 4 of them in a month. But the rewards were many. I mean, guys, what that guy told us, what he's publicly saying he sees and saw. Let's use some keywords without divulging too much. He talks about pyramids, and he talks about portals, and he talks about spheres in the sky. And when they're all put into context with the phenomenon that we're seeing, he colors our investigation from an ancient ancestral perspective, which is so much better coming from the people than from a historian, like me. So that's what we got from him. We had this total balance. We worked, brought along enough for lunch, and we left, and they had a freshwater well and have shared their indigenous time-worn stories with the rest of the world through phenomenology. It's the ultimate win-win.
I'm just going to jump in, guys, and say I'd like to introduce everyone to Mr. Walter Payne.
Oh, no, Walter.
We got Walter in the house.
Oh my gosh.
Look at that.
How are you guys doing? I've been
Hold
watching-
on, Vinny. Can we take this window and I'll put the photos in a second?
Walter.
There you go.
I just want to let everybody know that's watching this. I have never been around three guys that are so great, three guys that work so well together. I really owe it all to Ashley because he puts these personalities together, and we all come from different backgrounds. So this is going to be pretty impressive when you guys see what Ashley's put together. I think we're going to open up a lot of eyes. People are going to be very, very interested in what's going on and want to see more. They're going to want more, I guarantee you.
Yes, I agree, man. So
Ashley,
good to see you.
Ashley's trick is he puts people together that he knows will say good shit about Ashley. It's all about me, dude.
Well, well done.
So Walter, this is great to see you on. We're just at the we've already introduced you to the world, and where are we? We've just left Guatavita. Remember the Moisca ritual we did?
Yep.
That's right. With Walter, you oversaw the passing.
Oversaw. Didn't directly get his hands dirty, you know.
Oh, the fire brigade. Absolutely.
The fire brigade. That's it.
Work harder, not harder, brother. We got it done.
Hey, no, you're right. We did. We got it done. You are absolutely right.
But yeah, like I said in that chat room, this was it was crazy just to step back and just look at it from the perspective that I was at. Yeah, you guys were doing more of the lifting, but I looked at everybody and I just reflected a little bit, and I said to myself, this is it. This is a community. You don't have to have much. You don't have to do much, but really what you need to do is kind of do it together. I mean, it is a soulful community, in my opinion. It really was.
It was. It was better when we were all together. You know, let's be really honest here. We live in this exceptionally tetchy world when it comes to the color of our skin, and for there to be such a non-questioned human team working together with not a single thing between us, no media, no bullshit narratives. It was such a refreshing, cleansing day to see that the differences we may perceive between us are completely taught to us by our media institutions. It was beautiful. That's what it was. Mm-hmm.
I think out of all that, I'm not a social kind of guy.
No, you're not.
I'm pretty closed, you know. But that was probably the best. That was probably the best time I had was just doing that little bit of work. It just.
Totally.
I guess if I had just kind of reconfirmed my faith in humanity, it's like, hey, we're still good. We're still on track. This will be all right.
And what was beautiful and what it really comes through in the film is, you know, Lydia's in her 70s. She climbed up a really steep hill to get there. And while the guys were all taken to dig out the well, the women have their own moon temple that the men are allowed nowhere near. So Lydia, Natty 1 and Natty Doss, they went out and helped sweep out a moon temple and get it cleared for the women's ceremonies as we were cleaning out the ditch with the males of the community. And then we all came together for the ritual in the main sun temple. And there was just this, as you said, Walter, like, do you not remember? I was about an hour into the working, 20 minutes into the working, and I panicked a little bit and got anxious because I thought, this is completely off piece. This is not planned. This is not, this is all just happening as it happens. So it's a true documentary in a lot of ways because we're just documenting stuff that occurred as we got into situations. And I let go then and we didn't even put the camera on. We just all got working and got mucky because it was beyond the film for quite a while. Do you know?
Yep. You know what, Ashley? Dan says something in the rough cuts that I think Vinny's going to show later that 100% supports what you just said. And that is a lot of this, it's about the culture. It's about their perspective and the phenomenon. It's not, I believe it was either Dan or Vinny that said, it's not so much right now, what are the lights, but how are people perceiving the lights? What is your interpretation of the lights? Mm-hmm. We'll get to the facts. The facts will always reveal themselves in the end. Everyone knows that. But let's get to the background, the culture, the history of all this stuff first.
That's right. I think there's a great impetus just now. You hear lots of people saying, I want data, 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 and that's absolutely called for. However, if you think you can strip the person out of the eyewitness, you're bananas.
Yeah.
people's interpretation of what they see is as interesting as what it perhaps is that they are seeing.
That's really well said. Yeah, totally. Well said, Walter.
Aye,
Shall we jump back into the photos, because we're probably
Yeah,
just
bring 'em
entering.
up.
We're just entering week 2. I'm just cautious of the time. We're an hour and a half in.
We are.
So
This is literally the team photo before we head up Waika to the peak. So I'll
Right.
just kind of run through these as you want to talk about it. But yeah, we were all kind of. I mean, Almita there, the little dog, was probably the fittest of us all. I would say, just up and down and up and down and up and down, and all of us had to kind of try and keep up with them.
Almita, the name of the dog, means, so an alma is a soul, so it's kind of, oh, you little soulie. It's a wee soul. There he is.
This is
He
me
did-
just completely out of breath. The
Yeah,
air
but
was so thin. It was unbelievable. I mean, I'm not the fittest dude, but I'm certainly not the most unfit dude either.
very few people make it up that high each year. Most people can't even come to Bogota. You know, if you've had a stroke or heart attack, you can't live where we filmed because the air is so thin.
Yeah, and it wasn't just pathways. You know, there was climbing as well. It wasn't just a straightforward walk up a steep path or anything. It was intense, man.
Well, let's be real, Vinny. The path sometimes was only like 12 inches wide, a foot wide at best.
Yeah.
So,
Walter and I had 10 days of comparative knee injury analysis. We
getting
did
old, man, getting old.
every night. We were like, look at the size of yours. Oh, mine's a little bit
Hey,
big.
Dan, just go back on that one before, because like, look at that. That's, you know, you had to climb up so many things.
Yeah,
like
you literally had to
that.
climb up that. That was just the path, wasn't it?
And you can still see on that shot there, you can still see the background. There's no sky. There's a lot of climbing to do, and it was a bit of that, a bit of rock, a bit of pathway. It was brutal.
So you're saying 3 hours. Let's put this in context, because people are hearing 3 hours to get up there. So hang on. It took you a day and a half to get to the Andes to start with. Then it took us an hour to get to the mountain. It took us 3 hours to get up. But let's bear in mind, it's only 900 meters ascent. So it took us 3 hours to do 900 meters. You're looking at an average incline of about 15 degrees. That's hard.
Yeah, totally, man. It was intense.
There he is.
So this was right on the tip of. I have a thing. Basically, I'm scared of heights, and I know that when my brain is tripping out because of that it's kind of rational. So behind me there is kind of the sheer drop that Vinny was talking about earlier, and I'm kind of sat right on the peak, and I was just letting my brain fritz out and kind of panic, but knowing that I was safe there. But it turns out actually the point that I was sat at, or the mirador, was used for. I mean, there's a bit of history. Do you want to just tell us?
The first recorded legend that definitely comes from the late 17th century. So you're looking at 1660s. This was recorded that when the conquistadors Jimenez Quesada turned up there in 1537, him and 188 Spanish knights drove the last 400 Kazakis, tribal leaders of the Muisca, to the top of La Peña de Huayca in an effort to conceal the whereabouts of their treasures, known today as El Dorado. The last 400 Muiscas threw themselves off this rock. They committed suicide there, and of course, the indigenous people of the valley today believe this light phenomenon are the souls of the perished 400 last Muiscas. Dan is sitting on that spot where the leap occurred.
Yeah, that was like I said, there was a real kind of weight to these places. I think I said to you at one point, it felt like walking into a cathedral, and hearing that was the spot that I chose to sit in. You know, there was, while I was thinking about the history and so on and so forth, it was a very potent moment for me.
I filmed you meditating on most hilltops, and I was going to call you Buddha, but look at you. Let's call you Buddha Light.
Buddha Light, yeah.
So Dan, how are you still afraid of heights, or did you maybe or something there? Just curious.
I'm still afraid of them, but I understand it's a rational fear, so I can kind of play with it a little bit more. I love climbing. I'm not such a fan of abseiling, but I'm fine doing either. Coming back from Colombia, my fear of heights, I'd get uncomfortable during turbulence, and now I seem fine. So I don't know if it was that bumpy landing, maybe, But yeah, I certainly have learned to kind of temper it over the years, and I recognize it for what it is. So yeah, it's an interesting experience to feel the mechanism kick in and my brain say, just panic even when I'm safe.
Good.
Mhm.
Not good that you panic, but good you got that out of it. I mean, that was a good experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
Walter's toys.
This was so. I'm kind of talking through this, but that's not why I'm showing you. I just wanted you guys to kind of see the view.
There's the valley.
It's stunning view. I mean,
I'm going to see that tomorrow, guys. It's bizarre being in the Highlands of Scotland just now and knowing that I'm going to see this in about 32 hours.
One thing I want to point out is the thickness of the trees and the bushes and everything that you can see across there is when these lights are seen, and some people might explain them as hikers' torches, they would not shine through these kind of thick overgrowths and stuff. I just wanted to put that out there because, yeah.
Really important point that it is, and that totally gets covered because
you'd see flickers of a hand torch would be a good torch might be this big, putting out a good light, but these lights are seen that are like 50 foot in diameter.
That's right.
From the base of the light, let alone the light they put out when it spreads out into the sky. These are big, bright, strange lights that are seen on that mountain on the flat face where nobody can actually physically get to.
That's right.
This is underneath where the Moiska, the 400 Moiska that Ashley was talking about, where they committed suicide. These lights are coming from below that, where it's just a flat face. And these lights are emanating massively. So,
to add a little texture, I was just going to say at the top there was a little charcoal fire, and people might know me for some of the art that I do, but basically I felt compelled to kind of grab a bit of charcoal and just drew while at the peak with the charcoal, the peak. You can see I'm not sure if you can see the mirador on there, but I gathered 2 flowers from either side of the valley as well, and they're kind of flattened in by there. So yeah, that was a cool experience for me to feel that and to capture that moment in that little picture there.
That's awesome.
It's fantastic to see all these things again that we saw and experienced. See, this is called a subparamo plant. When you get above 9,100 feet, there's such a dramatic change in the climate that you start getting these bizarre, almost Jurassic-looking thorny plants. And it's called the subparamo. Paramo becomes a completely different world, but we were up there in the subparamo. You can see the changing vegetation as we climb higher up the mountain. It's quite interesting for anybody that's into the natural world. That's the thing with phenomenology. We're not talking so much about little green fellows as much as we are about climatology, geology, light, the change of light. It's quite down to earth, if I could use that term.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. I will play one video here just because this was basically we'd just gotten back down. Everyone kind of went to their rooms to kind of recover.
Die.
And it was just this like lovely, lovely moment that I'd like to share.
Did you buy those flip-flops to match the chair or the chair to match the flip-flops?
They came together. I was amazed. So it was just raining and I was just outside reading a book, and it so happened that exactly where I was the only dry patch outside, so I just kind of sat there as it rained around me, and it was quiet, and just it was a nice moment to reflect on the day and where we were, and the fact that I live on Barry Island, which is sea level, so literally during this trip I went from sea level to about 10,000 feet to see how my lungs were and whether I was fit or not. And it was just there was definitely a moment here for me where I was just considering how far Vinny and I had come, literally across the world and up again,
That area represents the highest mountain in Cundinamarca, which is the largest department in Colombia. It's the highest rise for 280 kilometers. So it does represent the closest point to the gods in the entire area.
was on
Thank you,
mute.
Ash.
Yeah, that was a good day. A good, the accomplishment. I think I found. Okay, I'm going to skip what I was going to say. Look, this is what it was.
You're like, yeah, the profound mountain trip, and then the pizza comes on, and you're just like, oh my god, I
The
remember that.
food, the pizza. Oh my god, was insane.
Aye, there was some pretty good food.
Well, I was
These were
very
amazing.
adventurous. I was very adventurous with the food. We had a lot of locally cooked stuff, but when the pizza came out, I was stoked.
Yeah, you get a bit, I don't know, you guys are all into these Colombian soups that I have issues with. You get a soup, and I'm looking for a cream of chicken, something safe, and you'll find like half of an animal in your soup, right, on the bowl.
Actually,
Here's a good point here. Gospel says, I've read about a phenomenon called earth lights, which are similar to ball lightning, but are created by the pressure of tectonic plates. Is this a possibility for that region?
Who's going to say yes first?
Well, it is. Of course it is.
I mean,
absolutely.
it is, but I just point out that the idea of tectonic plates causing lights is up for debate, whether that's what is causing these things. There's some ideas. We're getting better video of it, and we're kind of getting to a point where we might be able to start trying to understand it. But certainly, a correlation between active tectonic plates and these lights doesn't necessarily ring true if you look at where these tectonic plates are. But they're absolutely right to point out this phenomenon because, it is similar. And you look at places like Hestal and the Longdale Valley. Again, they have similar ones, but they also have UAP reports. So there's a lot of crossover between these phenomena. So absolutely right to bring it up. And maybe.
I'm going to add a wee twist to that in addition to what Dan just said is, I think I'm safe to say this, not because I'm divulging it, but because I think it's a correct conclusion, is that some of these lights might be tectonic. I truly believe we're looking at multiple light phenomenon in our valley. Different sources, different causes, and what the danger is to call it the phenomenon, which suggests they're all one thing. But I think we've discovered that phenomenology is much closer to the truth, that there's maybe several things going on.
Yeah.
There's Julio.
Yeah, Julio helped us out so much. And he put Vinny and I's stickers on his truck there, which is very cool.
Yeah. Julio's the local fixer guy. He knows all the farmers, the access routes to the mountains. He knows everybody in the valley. He's our safe guy.
I'm not sure you want to joke around too much with him either. I think I always get the feeling that I always felt safe around him, but it's one of these things where I think Julio is there for you. I don't think anybody wants to mess with Julio.
Julio said this to me on the social night. We're having the party. DJ Disclosure was dropping them large. Everyone's having wine. And Julio came up and he was getting organized for the next day. And he went, arms. And I went like that. Boom, brother. And he went, no, arms. Do we need arms? And I'm like, no, we don't need arms. We need organization and forward thinking here. The solution too quick is just let's get kitted up. But, that's why we felt safe, because we didn't.
Yep.
We didn't need that. Walter, you know the crack.
Sure.
Pre-planning is what it's all about, to be safe. And here's the thing too, is I knew that these gangs of robbers, the bandits up the hill, they go in packs of 4 and 5, and they look for easy victims to take their training shoes and their money. If they see 15 people going up in a broken line, it's too much. 15 people in a broken line, so that us being in a broken line was way more safe than having maybe 2 pistols on us,
Yeah.
Yep.
Don't bother with it in the first place.
Let's be honest, guys. When you have a gun, unless you absolutely know what you're doing, it's going to get used against you.
Yep.
That's it. So no, we didn't go that. We've not got that kind of chaos where we are. A bit of organization. We're not on the West Coast where all the trouble happens in Colombia, where all the narcos are exported. It's like 1,000 miles away. So, yeah, our greatest danger was one of us breaking an ankle at the top and all of us having to get them back down. That's the truth.
Actually, that's good you say that, because I think a lot of people have just that misconception about Colombia.
Yeah. Look at us.
That's amazing.
And look at me hanging out the window filming you there.
I cannot begin to describe the discomfort on my ass.
Yeah. That right there was breaking my knees more than hiking up that mountain. Blowing them out.
See them guys in the back of the truck. There's a scene I can't use. Here's what happens: you're all flying along in this truck, and the dust's blowing in the camera, and it all looks great. And Vinny puts his hand out innocently to hit this red rose as we go around the corner. And as we turn the corner, there's a cow, and it looks like he slaps the cow in the ass, even though he doesn't. I can't have DJ disclosure done for animal abuse in episode 2, you know.
No, I know that. I remember that.
There it is, the famous hoax photo.
Oh yeah, that's the hoax photo. So that is the actual mountain that we were up, the Pena de Huayca, and that is a well-known image over there. Yeah. But I believe a lot of people believe it to be a true image. Am I right?
Yeah, it was presented by a designer, and he's kind of went, "Look, well, I've done a bit of art," and everyone's like, "That ain't no art. You know, that was real." And it exists today as like an iconic UFO photo from the valley, quite clearly a hoax. But it's, yeah, I'll be really honest with you, been into films and visual stuff. Going into a restaurant and seeing a meter by meter photo of a mountain with a UFO above it, I don't give a toss if it's made or hoax. It's great to look at, great fun, right?
Yeah, it is in that area, in the whole valley, Tenjo, Tabio, just seeing UFOs everywhere and everyone talking about it was just an incredible thing to see and witness and hear. It's not taboo. There's no stigma whatsoever. It's just the norm.
We actually did all of those pictures, you know, the fake ones and the obviously fake ones and the paintings. They created a conversation or generated a conversation that was really interesting. We were talking about what would make a good UFO picture, and generally the more subtle the better. But yeah, we all kind of sat around the table and said what worked and what didn't in the different photos for us, and it was an interesting conversation. I don't think I'd be able to trick everyone with a picture. You can't trick everyone all of the time, right? But this was literally just a local taxi service. And we didn't get this taxi service purposely. It just came. This was the one that came. And there's that, you know, amazing UFO logo on the side there, over the peak of the mountain. I mean, if that's where it was, if that was real, we all would have been taken, pretty much. That means fairly wide.
It's so funny that we're all talking about the phenomenon and lights and tectonic light, and look what everybody local thinks. It's so blatantly, it's just big UFOs.
They think it's no big deal.
Yeah, it's just normal. It's everyday life.
Yeah, exactly. Not a big deal, but just common. Yeah.
Here we go. This is where we stayed, HQ. We had our own chapel.
We had our own little chapel.
Yeah, that was cool. This was this was kind of separate, and there was a bedroom over here, and this is where I stayed. And it was quite good because it meant when I stayed up late, I didn't disturb everybody, which was nice.
Louis said we should interview a priest. All we needed to do is speak to Dan in his wee church there, you know.
Yeah, he was converted.
Again, all of these properties you can see are all aligned on this sacred mountain, La Peña. It's the center of everything.
Oh, there you go, Ash.
Wonderful place, Ash. A wonderful home.
My goodness, I miss it.
I bet you do, mate. So for everyone, this is Ashley's home that he built. It's literally a slap bang directly in front of the mountain. So you imagine on that
you can almost see it reflected actually in the window there.
You absolutely can, and then it's aligned so that on the equinox each year, when the sun sets directly behind Huayca, we're directly east. So all of the shadows in our house come into alignment on the 21st of March, 21st of September. So it's absolutely keyed into the important indigenous alignments that all of the temples were following. So yeah, it's quite a special home to live in. It's completely integrated with the mountain. It's like a UAP watch center where I can shoot it all night and a home. There's my doggy, look at her.
Chia.
The moon goddess. Anyway, move on from my house before I get stalkers at the gate.
Oh yeah, they've already figured out where you live.
We've got the
This is
biggest one. We've got the biggest one on the chat tonight. He just joined us. Look at that. Walter stalks me. He's been in Colombia so many times I forget.
Man, I tell you, I don't know.
Interestingly, though, let's be honest, that was your first trip studying UAP. We do archaeology stuff.
Oh, check it out. This is the haircut.
There you go.
I felt like I had to fit in with the locals because they were like jazzy hairstyles. So
wait.
I literally on a whim just went in, didn't I?
Get your double trams and a fade.
Come on. Yeah, man. Feeling
Put a
fresh.
hat over it.
It was so hard for me because yeah, indeed. You're meant to have consistency in your clothes and your hair when you're filming, and you did a dive into a local barber and screwed my consistency up.
Guys, Lydia's got to go. Lydia, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We miss you.
Oh, Lydia. How nice that Lydia was there. Lydia, we'll see you very soon. Remember, February next year.
Oh, yeah.
It's lovely to see you, Lydia. Oh, well, not to see you, I guess. Lydia isn't here. But
thank you, Lydia. We love you. We're coming to the end. We're coming to the end.
We are.
And an end of a great thing. I was so happy to see all this. It brings it alive again.
Yes.
Look at them.
It just makes me want to go back, and I knew this was going to happen.
What's going to happen?
Oh, it is February 2023. Look at that.
Guys, let's go back to the 1st of May. I've just got so much, not anxiety, but excitement, genuine excitement to show what we did with everybody. It's so original. We don't use one piece of archive footage. There is nothing from that you'll see in another UFO show. Everything is in scene. Here's something I'm really proud of. In the first episode, it's 30 minutes long. I have been able to do the whole episode with 35 seconds of my voiceover at the end. Everything else comes from you guys in scene without any voiceover to fudge or to link the story because we missed it. It's just really good. I'm proud of it as a documentary.
I can turn the volume down on these. I was just going to put a little soundtrack behind.
That's the inside looking at the mountain. Dan really should have been born in the 60s, mate.
Yeah, right. I was born in the wrong year, I think.
Great.
It kind of, it vibrated your hand as you were doing it, so you kind of came away with, it wasn't pins and needles, but it was certainly a tingling on your hand, you know.
Could you stop the video before the blue orb rises into your hand? There you go.
Hey, look, Yorni says, my cat just came running towards me as soon as this started playing. That's crazy. That's awesome.
When Dan drives through Wales, like girls are watching the TV and they get sucked out of the window and stick on to dance. It's in the music. That's great.
I love this picture. This was hanging in your window, Asher.
What's in the sky there? Is that the sun?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is.
One of us had to ask.
Yeah, this was a special night for many reasons. It was cool. I went off to partake in a ceremony that I may talk about in the future. And you and Vinny did some mountain watching. I think everyone had gone home by this point, right? Except all of us, all the people I mentioned.
Yeah.
I'm saying nothing.
I'm saying nothing either.
Cool. I'll just let that image stand. There you go.
Is that the end? Coffee.
So this was Vinny's last video interview. Yeah, this was our last picture here. All together.
Guys, do you think we should do one of these brilliant YouTube lives on the Phenomenology channel, maybe during the show coming out? So I thought
we were doing a little thing after each one.
I think I would love to, but what I'm thinking is to try and get more subscribers in the Phenomenology channel. We could do it there and discuss the episodes, what happened last week. Or do you think, what happened last week? That would be the best way to do it.
I totally didn't realize this lady behind me was looking at what I was doing.
Wow, look at her too. She's on a real gawk.
Just right there. Yeah, right. Just like the whole time. It was only after I was like, oh my God.
She's actually so entranced in her call. Oh, look at the UAP hat.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, man. I had to sit on my own for like, I don't know how many hours. Well, not on my own, but with strangers. It's different when you're used to traveling with someone. But listen, before we do the last bit of conversation and finish, I'm going to play the rough cuts video for everyone. I'm sure people.
I'm just going to go. I'm going to go and spend a penny. I'll be back towards the end.
No worries. Let's play this for everybody.
I don't know what that was, but looking at it here, it was clear as a bell.
When you speak to the people here, there's a kind of preponderance of evidence and stories that really show beyond a doubt there's something strange up on that mountain.
On the thing that I saw, it was like moving super fast.
You're from here. Do you still believe this light phenomenon exists as an unexplained entity?
I do. I believe it.
A lot more mysterious things here. But then when you throw in a case involving a Tic Tac, which is a bit more military based, a bit more nuts and bolts, then it just adds more weight to the fact that there's so many different things happening here.
There were some lights flying around the top of the mountain, and the UFOs, or the strange things, were flying and parking inside.
The archaeologist in Tenho showed us the moonstone, which reflects moonlight, causing some sort of orb or some sort of reflection.
It's getting more and more mysterious.
I think those two lights coming together, forming a greater light, might then possibly interact with that magnetically.
We have technology today to figure out what all this is, and instead of accepting that it's religious or spiritual or something like that, go in and get empirical data and derive your conclusion from that.
The lights on the mountain are the only thing that science will quantify, right? But the witness testimony and the history is so important to that phenomena and how that phenomena is viewed that you can't really separate them. And Hest Island is similar in that regard. It's just a culture.
What's happening here warrants a bigger investigation with a lot more equipment and systems in place.
We've got multiple light phenomena here, and we've got a week to get to those locations where the lights are up to figure out what's going on.
About a week and a half to go.
Yeah, that terrifies me. All the audio's mastered ahead. Go on, Mulder.
It ought to excite you.
Yeah, it does. If I can see past the fourth, if I can get episode 4 in the bag in the week I go home, I know then I'm 3-4 weeks ahead, which is safe, and I'm fine. But here's the thing: there's a lot of judgment coming for all of us, and that doesn't make me anxious. It makes me feel quite intrepid. We've got lots of good and lots of bad coming. As you said at the start, there's going to be a section of people that are going to see the first thing that someone tells us about as drone. It's going to be automatic write-off, and then we're going to have the people that are going to be wholly convinced we're looking at extraterrestrial beings here. And I can't wait to see what the flush of feedback is, because that too is a broadening up of our experiment. That's phenomenology. What do people think is going on in that valley? So much coming, guys. It's going to be like a tidal wave.
Yeah.
And that's good. I think we're all ready for it, honestly. I mean, my only concern is what I say in there. I want empirical data. Yeah, I do. That is the personality you've got on your team for me. But I am by no means am I below saying, well, hell, I don't know what that is. In fact, bring it, please. Please bring it.
Yeah, but Walter, I found myself being almost identical to you by the end of it, and I didn't expect that. You know, I was expecting to be the UAP UFO guy, and I wasn't. I was like, I'm more excited for the next stage where we can get sensor systems and everything into place. I've got to be careful with my words here because I don't want to spoil anything, but I'm excited for the next stage of the investigation where sensor systems can be put into play and we can maybe start getting some answers.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I never thought I'd say this so frequently, but the older I get, hey brothers, it's a journey.
Yeah.
That man, step by step.
Yes.
And I'm not an open mind. I don't like it when people say keep an open mind, because if you keep, the way I see it, if you keep an open mind, why the hell did Ashley get me? Why did he get you? Why did he get Dan? No, there's something to it. You know, seriously, there is.
You said it in an interview, Walter. You said, if any one of these sightings turns out to be a Phantom 4 drone, put it to the side, bring on the next mystery. That's what this is all about, working through each one of these reports we've got, taking it to its nth degree and going, interesting or gone. And that's
Yeah, absolutely. Work from the bottom up. Don't start at the top, UFOs, and then prove everything out. You know, knock everything off first, and then if you're left with something still that you can't explain, then we're into the realm of the anomalous and things like that. But we can't start at the top and work down. We have to go from the bottom up. From the let's cancel out drones, let's cancel out torches and hikers and all that kind of normal stuff. I think that's the best way to do it, you know. I mean, it is, you know.
I couldn't agree more. I don't know how many photos I did see, or just videos of just lights in the sky, and I'll say, did you check the flight paths? And people will just get angry straight away. And it's really frustrating because I never ask the question because I'm judging. I'm always asking the question because just on the off chance that you're wrong, check it, you know. We should be gathering all of the different data points that we can, whether it's human testimony and witness testimony, or whether it's hard data like that, to come to a solution, because that's what we're here for, to solve these things. You know, we all want the truth, and we've just got to keep digging with it. You can't just tap out at the first sign of a bias.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? On the budget that we had, which was zero, I think we did a fucking good job.
Totally. And one of the things you'll never hear, because the biggest, phenomenology was a philosophical movement from the 19th century. It's not something I've come up with. This was a philosophical movement now. The biggest fear of a phenomenologist is the word belief. So never once did I ask any of you, what do you believe? I asked you, what do you think you saw? What did you experience? What did it look like? And it's never, what did you believe? Because I think there's 7.5 billion people. Therefore, there's 7.5 billion beliefs. I'll be really honest. I don't give a fuck what you guys believe. I want to know what you saw. And that's our kind of the tracks that we travel on. We're not going to confuse people with egotists pounding home their personal beliefs. There's no space for that in phenomenology, and I'm over the moon about that.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Well, listen, guys, we've just hit or just jumped over the 2-hour mark, and I'm sure we could just keep talking for ages. But I think what the best thing to do is leave it at that for now. We're a week and a half away from the premiere of episode 1. I think we should do this kind of conversation after each episode airs. I'm certainly up for it, and then people
we
can
should
really
see if maybe we can get Natty Doss in. I'm not sure if we can get Jash on, Lydia if she fancied it, and just get all those faces that were going to be on screen to discuss.
I think it's a great idea.
The episodes after they air. I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah. So let's leave it at that. You guys hang about though. We'll say goodbye to everybody, and we'll have a little debrief privately afterwards. So for everyone watching, I really hope you enjoyed that. It was so nice to go through everything. It makes me want to go back so bad, but I think we're going to go back out early 2023 and continue the investigation. Project Wyker will continue. So for now, guys, I'm going to be back here on this channel. Well, this Saturday, I have a premiere of my interview with Steph from UAP Experiences, where she talks about her family sighting back in the 80s, witnessed by herself, her mother, and her sister of a black triangle. That's going to premiere this Saturday. And then on Monday, the 25th, Dr. David Clark is joining me again. We're going to be talking about some pilot experiences back in the 50s. I think it's the 50s. And we actually have audio recording of interviews that David did with the pilots that have never been heard before. Lots of other things coming up in the weeks following. I'm not going to bore you with all that right now. So for now, everyone, thank you so much. I really appreciate you all being here, and we will see you soon. Take care. Goodbye.
that is all for this week's show. Thank you very much for listening. Please remember to leave the podcast a review on your chosen platform. You can like, retweet and subscribe. That would all be very much appreciated. The shows are being uploaded onto YouTube as we speak more and more. You can sign up at patreon.com/That UFO podcast to access the shows ad-free as well. Please get in touch on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, That UFO podcast. Of course, on Twitter, it's at ufouapam. And again, folks, as always, keep looking up. You never know what you might see.
It wasn't a tic-tac and not quite a saucer, more like a hubcap designed by Chaucer, a little Baroque and quite steampunk, like Alice was playing bass for the Parliament of Folk. The little fucker hovered right outside of my window, and when I shoved out the screen, he made it an issue. I don't think he expected me to see his ass, but I'd had some champagne and smoked a little grass. Meditative game of state full on meta. I can't imagine how it could have been any better. I got to the top of the stairs and there he was. Like, you awake? I was about to abduct you, cuz. I jumped back and nearly kissed myself, and I climbed out the window after the elf, and I woke up in my bed and there was something on my head and everything was weird and everything was red. And I called out to my boys, they thought this was noise, they thought it was a dream, and they thought it was my toys, they thought it was my problems, and they think I should seek therapy, and I don't know what to do because it doesn't really scare me. If you really want to know who I think I be, I think it's you and me and us and we and him and her and that and she and that thing over there and what's that, Jake? If we're being serious, open your mind, consider your heart, consider time, consider your space,